If I Should Die by Donevy Westphal. Available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other retailers.
"Aren't you Al from down at the club?" Julius said. "You stupid, I don't know you from nowhere." The guy paused for a second. The question, used as a momentary distraction, gave Julius the time for his move. He whirled and struck the man with a body slam that sent the much bigger man flying backward through the window to the pavement below. Julius began to turn back when a pinprick caught him just above the collar, and his world became fuzzy. "You didn't think it'd be that easy, did you?" The creepy voice barely whispered, and the eerie laugh echoed. "The fear of Jehovah is the beginning of knowledge, but the foolish despise wisdom," Julius heard his voice reciting. Memories sifted into his mind in the gathering darkness. He struggled to move his left arm. He lay on a hard surface. No matter what he tried, his body either would not or could not respond. His eyes were the only thing that would move. He looked at his surroundings as best he could. Same building and same room. He strained to hear or feel the presence or breathing of someone else. This is one nightmare I wish I could wake from. I wish it were a dream. One thing I ask, oh God, don't let me betray anyone. Torture had always been something he had done to himself. After being shot, he'd drug himself over rough, barren wilderness. Or when the ledge he stood on gave way after falling farther than he wanted to remember, he and his fellow platoon member crawled through enemy territory farther than he wanted to remember. Today, torture took on a new meaning. Tingling began in his fingers and toes. "Now we'll get on with your information, Agent." A slow warmth ebbed into his body. He could not tell if the creep, as he began to think of the person, had just come in, or if he'd been there all along. "If you'll just cooperate, we'll be on our way. Otherwise, we do have ways of helping you remember." "I don't even get a last meal. That's not a sporting affair." "It's a stupid practice to waste food on someone whose next stop is death." "I'm not hungry anyway. But shouldn't I be able to face my accuser?" "Stop stalling. Passwords first, then code." "I need to sit up, get some circulation back in my brain," Julius said. "Don't get comfortable," the voice said, and the pressure holding him in place released him. "Pencil and paper, I'll write you the password." He flexed to his left hand. "What? Do you make me for a fool?" "A fool?" The voice spat. "The password without the code is useless. First things first, my computer is set up for me. No one else in the world can operate it." "You're stalling." "Believe what you want. Take me out and you'll never get what's in the machine." "It's true, boss," a different voice spoke from the shadows. "As far as I can tell, this computer won't respond to my entries." The creep glowered at Julius, but handed him a pencil and paper. "Don't cross me. I might just change my mind about making it quick." Julius wrote down a password and handed it to the creep, who gave it to the guy with the computer. "It's up, boss, but this is going to take a while at this rate." The creep looked at his watch. "I'll be back. I've got other things to attend to. Get those codes." He scowled. "I'll send Red in." Turning at the door, and with a jerk of his head, he indicated Julius. "You two watch him. He's dangerous." The feeling had returned, but the lack of coordination still lingered. Julius continued to flex his muscles and stimulate blood flow. "I need those codes," the man with his computer case glanced at him. "I have to put those in myself." "Not possible. You gotta stay there," the technician continued, watching the screen. "Just give them to me." "Shanalanon, Shanangelor." What language is that?" Technician man stared, his mouth hanging open. I told you I need to put them in," Julius said. "What do we have here?" A short, ginger-haired man scowled down at Julius. "This guy's pulling a fast one, or trying to." The man with Julius' case stared hard at Julius. "We don't have time for stupid," the second man said. Elle is gone. Just you and me. We can get rid of him. Tell the boss he didn't make it. You did that to the last guy. He won't fly this time. This one's too important. Well, just pick it out of him then. Red grinned and held up the pocket knife. It's simple. My case will only respond to me. If I can't leave the spot, bring it here. It's a trap, the man named Red said. Aren't you one of those computer geeks that can do anything? Just do it. I've never seen this before. He says this case is person sensitive and it'll only respond to him. It'll only work for him. Then give it to him, you idiot. Julius watched as Red's hair and complexion became the same color. He had them in a tight spot. It was a good idea when we set it up, but... I don't have a choice. The technician stood. He dawdled between the two choices. I don't know. The boss... Against his better judgment, he set the case where Julius could work it. Julius, his left hand running swiftly over the board, worked his charm. What are you doing? The creep's voice entered the doorway. It's person sensitive, boss. Only he can... It's a trick. No, look. A look of relief spread across the tech's face. Very few people choose their own death. Julius handed the case back to the technician. What? The relief was replaced by horror. You didn't think it'd be that easy, did you? Julius's eyes narrowed. His world slowed. Hiram? Yes, Lord. The lad's in trouble. How do the forces of darkness always seem to find him, Lord? He needs an Ebenezer. Aye, Lord. Grace and a stone of help. Julius watched as time slowed around him. He could see the text staring at the case as files flipped across the screen. Red stood with his mouth open, but made no sound. The creep, boss, also stood, rooted in one spot. His voice, in slow motion, one long drawn-out word. No. Julius could see himself sitting on a chair. He could feel a sense of finality. Then he heard a voice echoing around him. Laddie, laddie. Where have I heard that voice before? I can always be pulling you out of these situations. Didn't I tell you? The way of the transgressor is hard. That's where I've heard it. Hiram? McCormick? That's me, laddie. You know you've made some pretty wild choices. Only a cat has 9 lives and your name's not Tom. Kurheme, das Jechna Modach. Was Saval Mirar do Throchar, Julius said. Yes, God will hear, Hiram said. No, I've got to get you out of here. And I bet that cab is gone. Julius's world went blank. An old man with an arm around a much younger man swaggered into the hotel. He stopped at the desk and picked up a key. Not a wee bit too much of the bubble, he said with a wink at the clerk. They continued to walk to the elevator, singing in a delightful Scottish brogue. He punched the button. The elevator dinged and the door opened. As the elevator sped to the 3rd floor, he stopped singing. I've never had to sing for 2 people before. Wake up, laddie, he said as the room door shut behind them. He unloaded Julius on the bed in the darkening room and watched the city lights wink out as the sun sank below the horizon. Hiram ran some cool water on a clean washcloth and applied it to his patient's face. After several gentle dabs with the cloth, Julius began to wake from a stupor. Aye, laddie, Nightingale and Little Parrot are safe. Stop worrying about them. That one was too close. God isn't finished with you yet, but... What's that? Julius shook his head. He thought he heard someone speaking. He groaned and sat on the edge of the bed. Where in this world am I? I feel like I've been ground up and spit out again. I hurt too much to be dead. Things seeped into his consciousness little by little. He knew where he should be. He remembered the cabbie putting his envelope in his coat pocket. Oh, God, help me. Wait, he switched on the television. So what happened here? You say you live just down the street? Julius squinted at the television as a local reporter stood on the street as close as they dared to a massive fire, flames billowing into the evening sky.